Okay, so hi everyone, thanks for joining and welcome you all in our course data analysis using R programming. And today we are on the session 11 and here we are going to cover about how to read the data into our R environment, right? So now what the problem basically we are going to solve. So like for example, when you are collecting the data into the real world situation and you are just giving the questionnaire to the peoples and the people are filling that questionnaire, right? And now you wanted to analyze that particular data which is being captured into the questionnaires, right? So what the first and essential steps you will perform? So the first and very foremost important steps is that just to convert this particular data into the digital format. It means that you need to convert this data from the paper based theory to the in a computer based system, like maybe you are just inputting your data into the Excel, okay, or maybe you are just storing the data into some databases, right? So now next step is that just to import that particular data into our R environment, because until you are not importing your data into the R environment you cannot perform any data analysis activities into that particular data, right? So the first and important step is just to import the data, as you also saw maybe in our first session where I was just telling you about the research steps. Over there you saw that what are the different phases are there for performing a data analysis activities, and over there you have seen that what the first important step is just importing the data into our R software. Okay, so in our today's session this is our goal, just to understand how to import our data into our R environment. Okay, so always ask your question and raise your question if you are having any doubt or any question. Okay, so before starting the session let me clean the environment so that our memory would be released. Okay, so all the environment variables are being deleted now, and also I will delete the console environment. Okay, so now everything is cleaned and our memory is released now. So now I'll start the coding. So what are the different methods how we can take the input in our R environments, right? So method for taking input, right? So what are the different methods? So the first method is that generating data inside our environment. Okay, so this is the first method. The second method is that taking input into console, right? Now third method is that taking input from files. Okay, and the fourth method is that taking data from external sources, right? And the fifth method is that taking data from web pages, right? So these are the different ways how you can import or you can take your data into our R environment so that we can perform our data analysis activities into that data. Okay, so now if once you take the data into your R environment, then definitely you will perform some data analysis activities into the R environment. Okay, now once you perform the data analysis activities you will get some results, and you wanted to take out those results from the R environment, or there is a different methods how you can take the output from the R. Okay, so as we are learning the method of taking input, so we should to also keep aware that what are the different ways of taking output as well. Okay, method of taking output, right? So what are the different ways are there? So maybe just to take output into the console only. Okay, so console means we will just take the output into this particular window, in this particular window where my cursor is blinking right now. Okay, now another method is that just to give output into some files. Okay, might be in Excel file, might be in the PowerPoint presentation, might be in the Word, might be on the notepad. Okay, so there is a different sources are there, over there you can place your output. Okay, now another method is that let's say use output directly to to the input of something, input of some operation, right? So whatever the result you are getting after the data analysis activities, you will pass this in the output as the input of some other functions. Okay, so like for example, some of the labor is working into the mines, right? And you wanted to do an analysis that whether methane gas emission is there, right? So if you are doing a data analysis activities and you are just analyzing and getting the knowledge that the methane is being increased, okay, or the level is increasing, so you will give this output to some sensor. Okay, that sensor will be blown and this will give a alarm that this is a hazardous situation now created. All the miners should be come out from this particular mines. Okay, so over there what we are doing, we are doing the data analysis activities onto the natural gas resources. Okay, and we were just measuring that which gas is increasing, right? Once you are getting the output that methane is increasing, this methane will be go into the another sensor. This sensor will give us the fire alarm, right? So that people will come out from the mines and their life will be saved. So over here what we are doing directly, we are doing the data analysis activities and our output is going to the input as the input into some sensor, which sensor will help us to save the lives of many people, right? So this is also the one of the method just to take output, producing output in form of some action. Okay, so like for example, as you saw here, like your output will be taken as an input for some other operations, right? Similarly, your output, okay, may be served for different purposes. Like for example, you are just doing an analysis and your output is just telling that maybe certain schemes should be launched into the market, right? So your analysis will be directly taken by some government officials in some different formats, right? And those outputs will help us to just form the policies, right? Or maybe launching any scheme. Now another method is that getting output in the form of plots, okay, or visualization. Okay, so this is also one method of taking the output, because when you are doing a visualization, right, so many people can easily understand what the data is trying to tell. Okay, so these are the different methods how you can take the input and how what the different ways of taking output. Okay, so let me start one by one. Okay, and the corresponding what the method I will use to just read the data, corresponding method I will tell you that how you can give the output from the R environment, right? So now the first method is generating data inside the R environment. Okay, so how you can generate the data into the R environment? So you saw that there are multiple ways, multiple data structures you cover. So you just type your data into that particular data structure. This is the most simplest way to just get the data into our R environment, right? So like for example is, okay, you can directly type it over here. Maybe you can type into the vector format 23, 21, 24 and 25. Okay, in that way you can do. Maybe you can capture sex is equal to, okay, you can create a vector over here and over here you are storing male and over here you are storing female, right? So you are storing in that way. Maybe you can create the matrix for that. Okay, so like for example image data you are having. Okay, image you are having, and image data can be stored into the matrix format, right? And in this matrix you can store the data like 1 to 9. Okay, 1 to 9 and 3 by 3, right? So our data is stored into this particular variable. Okay, so in that way you can take the input into the R environment. Similarly you can create an array. Similarly you can create a data frame. Okay, like for example that data dot frame, and into the data dot frame maybe you have value like id and c 101 102, and here you are having name. Okay, name and see, let's suppose we are having apple, we are having banana. Okay, so this is also one way just to store your data. Okay, so here you are seeing that id and name is being created. Okay, so similarly you can create the list. Okay, so I'll tell you list about list in our maybe in the coming sessions. Okay, when it will be needed, I'll cover that particular topic. So these are the very simplest way just to take input in our R environment. Okay, very simplest method. Now let's move one by one, and we will go ahead just to read the data from the real world situation. Okay, so but what the method currently you are seeing that this is not that much feasible. Okay, why this is not that much feasible? Because when you are doing survey or when you are just doing the data analysis activities, you are not dealing with one or two data points, you are dealing a tons of data. Okay, maybe you are collecting the data from thousands of people, you are collecting the data from 10,000 people, right? So at that time this type of data reading methods will not help us more, right? We should to move ahead and we should to go for some other methods. Okay, based on that we will read the real world data or perform some statistical analysis into that. Okay, so what are the different other methods are there? So another method is that just to take using some commands. Okay, just to taking input using some command. Okay, so taking input into console, or maybe I will perform here the generating data from some data distributions. Okay, so I'll tell you about data distributions in our later sessions. Okay, so every situation or every data which is you are seeing in your real situation, every data is having their own distribution. You can generate those data from the distributions. Okay, so what are the different distributions are there? Based on that you can generate the data. You can generate the data from the normal distribution. Okay, you can generate the data from uniform distribution. Okay, so any other distribution, what are the distributions you are having, you can generate the data from those distributions. Like for example, if I type over here like help, and in this help window, okay, so you can see, so here we are having a package called stats. Okay, in this stats package we are having distributions in the stats package. So there are different distributions are there, like d beta, binom, Cauchy, chi-square, exponential, F distribution, gamma distribution, geometric distribution, hypergeometric, log normal, multinomial, negative binomial, normal. So there are so many distributions are there. So you can generate the data from any of the distributions. Okay, so in this way you can directly generate the data into your R environment without typing the data manually. You can generate the data into your R environment. So like for example, I'll tell you about the multiple ways. So I will generate the data from normal distribution first. Normal distribution. So what it means by normal distribution? Okay, so maybe you can google it. Okay, I'll tell you that normal distribution is basically a symmetric distribution. Over there we are having the values between minus infinite to infinite. Okay, any range of values can be into the come into the normal distribution, and you will see that there is a more dense area into the normal distribution in the central part of the data. Okay, so this is called as normal distribution, right? So I can tell you that how you can generate the data. So there is a command called rnorm. Okay, so r is basically telling you that just to generate a random numbers, right? So r means over here is random numbers, and norm is telling you that from the normal distribution. So r norm combined cumulatively is telling you about that generate the data from normal distribution, right? So from the normal distribution maybe you can generate data, tons of data. Like for example, I wanted to generate 1,000 data, and I wanted to generate the data from mean. We need to pass the mean, right? So mean is equal to maybe 2, and variance, so we need to pass sd. Okay, we need to pass sd is equal to 2, right? So you can see here so many data is being generated over here, right? So many data is being generated automatically, and this data is following the normal distribution. Okay, so this is the one way that how you can generate data into your R environment. Okay, so let me create a histogram for that. Maybe there is a command I am applying, and this command I'll tell you in our later sessions when we will do the data visualization activities. Okay, so over there you will see this part. So give me a minute. So sorry, I was just getting a call. Perfect. So yeah, I was just telling you about the normal distribution. So when you are generating the data from the normal distribution, right? So you can plot it by using the histogram command. Okay, so let me generate it and plot it. Then you can see over here into this particular window, a normal distribution is being generated. Over there you are seeing that in the central part of the data is having huge data. Okay, and in the two extremes, like for example from here to here and here to here, we are having very lesser data. Such kind of distribution is called as normal distribution. So if you wanted to generate the data in your R console, okay, or you can say in R environment directly, so you can generate the data from normal distribution in that way by using these commands. Similarly, you have some different commands, like for example R uniform, okay, R uniform distribution. So maybe you can generate the data 1000 data from the uniform distribution, and in the uniform distribution the command is that minimum you need to pass, maybe minimum value I want 23 or maybe 2, and the maximum value we want is maybe 5. Okay, and between this range I wanted to generate the uniform distribution data. So see here, so much data is being generated over here, right? And let's see whether this data is coming from the uniform distribution or not. So uniform distribution means like this distribution is a normal distribution. It means that here central part is having most data values, right? But in the uniform distribution, what is happening, that most of the data is equally distributed to all the ranges. Okay, so let me create a histogram and show you that how this uniform distribution will look like. See here, now distribution is this plot is being changed, and most of the frequencies are coming almost equally. Okay, like in the normal distribution most of the values are into the central part of this particular line, but here you are seeing that some of the data values is lying equally to the all the all the x-axis values, right? So this is called as histogram data. Similarly, you are having uniform distribution, maybe exponential distribution. So if you wanted to generate data from exponential distribution, then you are having command called REXP, right? So you need to pass in REXP. There are two parameters are required. See here, one is n required and one is rate required. So maybe I wanted to generate the 100,000 values, and with rate is equal to 2. See here, automatically you will see 1000 values is being generated by using this particular distribution, right? So if I will generate a histogram over here, so maybe I can take the a object and I will store the value over here a, and see here, this is an exponential distribution. See, in initially there are just so many values, and after that this value is dropping down, right? So maybe I can change this particular rate, right? And you can see here the value is decaying, not in very sharp way, but this is slowing in a little bit slow way, right? So firstly this frequency, after that this, after that this. If we increase the rate, like for example uh, basically the rate is coming in like for example 1 upon rate way, right? So if you do in this way, right, so you can see very sharp fall is being over here, right? If you increase like from 101 to 1000, okay, so in that way you can see frequency little bit increasing in that way, right? So this is called as exponential distribution. Similarly, you are having a gamma distribution. Okay, so r gamma, okay, r gamma is there, and here we need to pass multiple values like number of observation, what how many wants do you want to generate. You need to pass the shape parameter, you need to pass the rate parameter, you need to pass the scale. Okay, so all those things are required, and you need to pass. Once you will pass those things over here, then only you will able to generate the value. Okay, so perfect. So this is the another way of just taking the input in our R environment, right? Now let me tell you the second method. So the second method is that just to take input into console. Okay, just to take input into console, right? So how you can take the input into console, so there is a multiple ways are there. Okay, based on that you can just take the input. So like for example, if you wanted to take the input one by one, okay, so you are having a command called scan. Okay, so scan function is basically helping you out just to take the input into the console. So what the syntax it is basically, so scan, and you need to specify the what parameter. So what parameter is basically telling you that what type of data you wanted to read. Okay, and you need to specify that how many values you wanted to read, right? So n is basically telling you about the size of the data values you wanted to read. Okay, so let me apply this particular thing, and we will read the data into the console directly. So like for example, this is the data variable. I wanted to keep our data into this, and I will apply over here scan, and into the what I will use, like for example, um, maybe I will specify double. Okay, I wanted to read the data into the double format, and I wanted to read 10 data values. Okay, n is equal to 10. No, so if I will run it over here, then in the console you can see this value is coming like one colon, means just to type the first value. Let's say I type the first value 23, and once I will hit enter over here, right, this it is asking for second value. Now I will enter over here second value. Okay, now it is asking me for third value. I'll enter third value. Similarly, it is asking for fourth value. I'll type fourth value, right? Similarly, you can type any number of values. So like for example, you are doing survey, and over there you are collecting the data from the multiple peoples, and you wanted to fill those values into this particular thing. Okay, so you will just apply this particular scan command. Okay, using this scan command you can read the number of data values, right? So in this way you can read the 10 data values. Similarly, if you don't want to fix up the data values, just to remove this particular parameter and run this, right? So it will not bound you up just to read the 10 values only. You can read any number of values from here, right? Any number of values you can read into this until you are not clicking double times enter, right? So like for example, if I will uh, run this way, and you can see it is just reading the values like 23, 24, 40, 25, 45, 56, 67, 88. In that way I can just type all values into this. Okay, it will not get out just to reading the values, right? So how you will get out just for reading the values, just to enter two times. Okay, like for example, without entering any values over here, I will just click the enter again, and I will see here that 22 value is being read into this particular variable, right? So if I will just type the dat over here, okay, dat, and I can see that how many values is being entered into this particular variable. These are the values, right? So in that way you can take the input into console. So what, where you are taking the values, you are taking the values into the console window, right? Similarly, you can also read the values in the character format as well. Okay, so like for example, if you wanted to read the character values, so you need to specify scan, and into the scan what you need to specify, what parameter. Okay, so what parameter, if you specify character, okay, character, okay, and you need to specify, no need to specify the n parameter, right? So it is telling you that just to write the values over here, right? So if you write the values, like for example apple, okay, it will ask for second value. You will type the banana, you will it will ask the another value, maybe grapes, okay, maybe lychee, okay, maybe some other food, let's say ABC. Okay, so it will take input, okay, until you are not pressing enter two times. Okay, see here, five values is being read into this particular variable. Okay, let me type our variable name and see whether this value is being read or not. See, these values is entered into this particular vector. What the values I just enter into the console window. I can check the type of this particular variable as well, and we are having the command call is dot character, and I need to pass over here that. You will see here true is coming. It means that this dat variable is now a character variable. Okay, so in this way you can take the input into your console window. Okay, this is not only the way. Okay, there are many more ways are also there. Okay, how you can read the data into the console. Now another method is that read line. Okay, so in reading the data into the console, there is one more function called as read line function. So read line function is used to take a single line input from user in the console. Okay, when you wanted to take a single line of input, okay, like for example, if you wanted to write a one liner, maybe some one line statement, so at that time you can take the input using the read line function. Okay, so like for example, it is just giving message in this way, this is syntax for read line. Okay, so read line, and you can see here it is reading the data in this way. Okay, so if I will store this into some variable, like for example that. Okay, so if I will enter it over here, like for example, this is our programming session. Okay, so see here this data is being read into the that variable. Okay, if I'll click over here in that, then you can see in the dat we are having one line of input. So there are two functions you saw over here. First is called as scan. So scan functions can take the value of any type. It can take the value from numeric version, it can take the values from the character version. Along with that, you are having a read line function which is helping you out to read the data of a single line, right? So like for example, in this way of reading, okay, in this way of reading you are taking the one value, okay, but here you are seeing that this is a single line of input you are giving, right? So when you wanted to read the single line of data, at that time you need to use the read line command. But if you wanted to read simple values, okay, so you need to use the scan function. Okay, so I hope it is clear to everyone. So please thumbs up so that I can understand whether you are clearing with this concept or not. Any question? Is it clear to everyone? Yeah, Anusha, go ahead.
Okay, so can you please scroll up a little? Let me see something. I beg you.
Okay.
Okay, and so the types of
Okay, yeah, here it is.
uh,
Yeah.
so yes, exactly. So my question is that we have known that when you are bringing data into an environment,
Okay.
it is normal practice to just maybe download the file or maybe link the file to the environment in question, or in this, or maybe get it from a web page. But why do we need to generate data,
Okay.
or
Okay. Yeah.
why do we need to take input into the console? That's, I want to understand why, other than the normal things we already do.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, very good question. So, like for example, since we are covering the topic of reading the data into our environment, okay, so what are the different ways how you can get the data into your R environment, right? So, the first method is that just to take the data inside the R environment, okay, generate the data inside the R environment, right? So, you are having data outside of the environment, okay, you can import the data into your R environment, but how you will generate the data into the R environment, okay, sometimes it is needed. Okay, when you are doing any statistical analysis over there, sometimes you need to generate the data and use that data for the analysis activities. Okay, so at that time we are generating the data in our R environment. So what are the different ways? One way is that you are having a questionnaire in your hand, and just to type whatever the data is filled into the questionnaire in manually into your data structure, corresponding data structure. Okay, let's say you can you can create a data frame, and over there you can input all those values, right? So this is the one way. Another way is that sometimes you know the distribution of the data. Okay, sometimes during the analysis activities you know the distribution of the data, like for example the distribution of the life expectancy, distribution of the light bulbs, okay, distribution of the survival of the people, distribution of the maybe what I can say score, distribution of the height. Okay, so if you are knowing the distribution of any of the variables, okay, any of the research interest, okay, so you can generate the data and you can set up a model for that. Okay, so for that reason you are generating the data into your R environment by using some distributional theory, right? So we are having multiple types of distributions, like as I had shown you. We are having a list of distributions like normal distribution, like binomial distribution, negative binomial distribution, log normal distribution. You can generate the data corresponding to those particular distributions, and those distribution will help you out to just at least set up the model. Okay, so that whenever you are going to deal with your real world situation, at the time your model will be ready. Okay, and this model will be trained onto the hypothetical values. Okay, and your model will be tested upon the real values, right? So for that reason we are just taking the data or generating data into our R environment, into the R environment directly, instead of just taking the data from outside. Okay, clear?
Yes, it's very clear.
Okay, perfect. Now, perfect. So now you understand two methods. The first method is that how to generate data inside the R environment. You saw two methods are there inside it. One is that just to type the data manually, or the second method is that generate the data from using some commands. Okay. Also, you saw when you are how you can take the input into your console. There are two methods you saw. One method is telling you that you can enter a list of values into this. Okay, like for example, scan function is helping you out to read the number of values, like for example character values or maybe numerical values, right? So you can specify the what parameter, and using this particular what parameter you can take input from the user. Okay, at how many number you wanted to take input you can specify, and if you don't know that how many numbers can be, so you no need to specify any number, just to type the values as long as you are having your values. And when you are complete with your values, just to type enter two times so that you will get out and your data values will be saved into a particular object list. Okay, and another method is that if you wanted to take a single line of input, then you can apply a command which is called as read line command, and using this particular method you can generate a data of one line into your R environment. Okay, so these are the ways how you can generate data into your R environment. Perfect. But what the ways currently you learn, is it possible to just read the data from real world situation for 1,000 people? No, right? Because for the 1,000 people you may have so huge file. Okay, so at that time this type of methods will not help you all, right? So we need to just remember or learn some other methods, okay, which will help us so that I can read the data. Okay, so sometimes when you are just having the data into some other files, like for example into the notepad. Okay, so firstly when you are having values into the notepad, okay, let's suppose the values is separated by star. Okay, 1 2 star 3 star 4, okay, star 5, okay, like for example 6, and star 7, star 8, star 9, star 10, star 11, right?
Abid,
Yeah, please.
please, I'm only seeing the method for taking input. I don't know if you are still there or you've left.
Sorry, you are not seeing my screen.
I'm seeing it, but what I'm saying is I'm seeing only method for input, taking input
Oh, okay,
into
okay,
R.
okay, okay, got it. Yeah, I'm just sharing my screen again. So I hope my screen is visible now. Okay, so now let's suppose you are having the data. Okay, and you are having the data into your files. Okay, now since you learn two methods. Okay, first method is generate into data into the R environment. Second method is that just to take the input from the user into the console window. Okay, so you use different methods. But now let's suppose you are having data in this way. Okay, and this is the data you are having, and let me save this particular data, and maybe save we can save the data into at some location. Maybe this is the location we are stored our data. Okay, so first method is that just to take the data from here only. Okay, so what I will do, and let me show you the data first, and after that I will tell you about the method that how you can take the input of this particular data. Okay, so like for example we are having scan num. Okay, so this is the file. In this we are having data of this type. Okay, so you are seeing that there is so many data are there. Okay, and these data is separated or stored using the star button. Okay, star symbol, right? So using this particular asterisk symbol you are having this data, right? And now you wanted to import the data file into your R environment. Okay, so how you will read this particular data, let me tell you about this thing. Okay, so how you will read the data, so you are having multiple ways of reading this particular data. So first thing is that you need to set up a working directory, that where you will extract the data. Okay, import the data, sorry. So now I will set up the working directory first, and after that I'll tell you the method that how you can read the data. Okay, so firstly just I'm just telling you there are two methods are there. Okay, based on that you can play with the working directory. Okay, nice, very nice. So let me write it over here, get wd. Okay, so get wd is basically a function which will tell you about currently where our R is working. Okay, so right now my R is working at this location like a clinical trial and documents. Okay, in this file my R is currently working, right? But now I will store, or you can say I will kind of change the path, and will store the our R environment at that particular location. So we can do this by using setwd command. Okay, so currently setwd means set working directory. So right now our working directory is stored into this particular location, but I wanted to change this working directory, and I wanted to use this particular place as a working directory. So how I can do it? I will just reverse those things. Okay, yeah, yeah, and this, yeah. So now I sets up this working directory. Okay, so now I can take the data from this particular location. Okay, so here we are having so many data files. See here, so many data files are there, but I wanted to read this particular data from this particular location. Okay, so I will read this data. Okay, so how I will use how I will read this particular data, I'll tell you about the command name, right? So we use this data using the scan function as well. Okay, so scan function is having very broad level of kind of a data import methods. Okay, so this is working for reading data into the console. This is also helping us to read the data into our into from the files as well. Okay, so let me apply the scan function, write the syntax for the scan function, how you will read the data from the files. Okay, so scan function is basically used as a scan, and we need to specify the file. Okay, which file you wanted to read. Okay, and what type of data are there into this particular file. So let's suppose if you want to read the double type of data, you need to specify what is equal to double. And if you are having what is equal to character, you need to specify the character value over here. Okay, and how many numbers of values you wanted to read, you need to specify it over here into the n max window. Okay, n max parameter. And what the separator you are having. So for example, in this particular file, okay, in this particular file you are having the separator is star. Okay, so each value is separated with the each value using the star button, star value, right? So we need to specify over here the separator option. Okay, what the separator is used just to separate those values, right? So let me read the data from this particular file. Okay, I'll show you that how I am reading this particular file. So first we need to just set up the working directory. Okay, so I just set up the working directory here. Okay, and let me check whether my working directory is into this particular folder or not. See here, currently my working directory is into this particular folder. So I will use scan function directly, and I will get the data. So I will use the dat as a data variable. Okay, and I will use here scan function, and my file name is what? My file name is scan num. Okay, my file name is scan num. And since this file is, what type of file it is, this is a txt file. Okay, this is a txt file, right? Now what type of data I wanted to read, this data is of double type. Okay, double means just a numerical value type data. Okay, so I will apply those two things. And the third important thing is that what the separator are there into this particular file. Okay, so in this particular file you are seeing the separator is nothing but star. Okay, so I will use the star as a separator over there into this particular command. Okay, so now I will run it, and you can see here it is giving me message that read 24 items. Okay, it means that my file data is being read into this particular dat variable. Okay, let me see here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 till 24, all the data values is being read into this particular data. Okay, so this is a very good method, you can say initially, which is actually taking the data from the files. Okay, when your data is stored into some notepad or somewhere, right? So basically this is from notepad. Okay, so from the notepad you can read the data using the scan function. Similarly, if you are having some string type data, like for example you are having data in this way, a star b star c star d, it means that you are having the data into some text, kind of a text file, and this data will be of character type. Okay, so how I will read this particular data? So I will apply the same command. Okay, so I will use the same command, like I just read this particular data. Okay, what only change I will made over here, the file name. Now our file name is scan str. Okay, maybe any file name can be of anything. Okay, it is up to you that what the file name you are having. So I have the data in this particular file, so I will change this particular file name using this particular file name. Now what is equal to double is being there, but I had a character data. Okay, so I will use the character over here. For the reading double type of data, you need to specify double in this way, but if you wanted to read the character type of data, you need to specify what is equal to character over here. Right, now separator is also same. Okay, as you are seeing into this particular data, separator is also star. Okay, so no need to worry about the separator part. So now you need to run this command simply. See here, it is giving method that read 10 data items. It means that from this particular file 10 data items is read. Okay, so let me see what the 10 items it is reading. See here, these 10 items is reading from the file. Okay, so now you saw this is also our very good method when you are having your data into the files. Okay, let me tell you about one more thing. Okay, so like for example, you are having read table data. Okay, so maybe I'll tell you about this in a few minutes. Okay, so what the problem basically you are seeing over here, right? So this there is a very kind of a big problem you can say. Okay, this is not reading the data of a multiple dimension. It is reading the data in a one dimension only, right? So this is basically reading data in the form of vector. Okay, but in the real world situation, this is not always that your data will be in the form of vector. Okay, maybe your data in the form of some other type of data structures. Okay, maybe data frame. Okay, maybe list format of the data. Okay, some other formats of data can be, right? So it means that scan function is also not playing a very good role because it is reading data in a only one dimension, and you are seeing that whatever the data is there, this data is reading into only a vector format. Okay, and this is not reading in the multidimensional data. So this is a very good drawback over here. So now, so how to solve this particular drawback? Because you are not in general in the real life situation, you are not dealing with such kind of data, kind of a data for the data analysis activities. Maybe sometimes you are dealing with tabular data. Okay, so like in our yesterday's class you saw that we are getting a data frame, and over there in a single data set we are having different types of values. So how you can lead, or you can say you import those data into our environment. Okay, so there is a very good command. Okay, which command is solving this particular issue? So this command is called as read dot table. Okay, read dot table. Okay, so read the table function is basically helping you out to just read the data into tabular format. Okay, so basically what is the command? Let me write the command over here. Syntax. So read dot table, you need to specify read dot table, and the similar kind of syntax will be also for this as well, like file, and here you need to specify header. Header is equal to true or false. Okay, whatever the header you wanted to specify, you need to specify. I'll tell you what basically it means for, and you need to specify the separator over here as well. Okay, so this is the syntax basically we are following for reading the data from the tabular format. Okay, so let me show you how the data will look like into the table format. Okay, and how you will read this. So let's suppose this is the data what you are having into your notepad. Okay, let's say you are having like name, sex, class, year, right? So these are the four variables you are having, and those four variable is being separated using the comma, like John comma M comma 12 comma 2002. Okay, so you are having your data in this format. Okay, so now you wanted to read this data, and you don't want to read this data into the vector format. Instead of that, you wanted to read this data into the table format, or you can say in a tabular format. Okay, so what the command I will apply? I will apply the command called read dot table. Okay, so let me create a data variable. So I will apply read dot table. Okay, read dot table, I need to specify the file name. So file name always be come into the double quote. Okay, so file name is what? So file name is basically read table. Yeah,
Read table.
yeah. So yeah, read table, and I this file syntax extension is .txt. Okay, so read table .txt I had, and what? Okay, no, we no need to specify the what variable basically there. So we have another option called as header. So header, let me keep or maybe not keep the just the header is equal to false, I will apply over here, right? And separator we need to specify. So maybe since in this particular file what the separator you are seeing, this all the data is separated using the comma. Okay, so I'll just copy this particular comma, okay, and use this particular comma as a separator over here, right? So let me read this. So see here data is being read, so I can just check in this way. Okay, see here my data is being read and this data is looks like into the table format, but there is a problem. Okay, what the problem it is reading the data, but the first row is not the variable name now. Okay, this is treated as a values. Okay, because you apply header is equal to false over here, so it is considering those values not as a header, it is considering those values as a data values. Okay, but if you wanted to treat this particular row as a variable name, so what you need to specify, you need to specify header is equal to true. Okay, so when you apply header is equal to true, it means that this variable, this particular row will be treated as a variable name. Okay, so header is equal to true, let me run it and see here. Now here not v1 v2 v3 v4 is not coming, instead of that the first row will be treated as a variable name and name is coming, and where the name values are there, sex variable is created and over here male female is capturing, class variable is created and the class values is being coming, year is being there in this way. Okay, so a read dot table is basically helping you out to read the data into the tabular format. Okay, and you can also see this data into the table format over here as well. See here, so this data is looks like in this way, right? So now maybe you get an essence that this is more close to the real world situation. Okay, because in a real world situation you may have the data in this file format. Okay, your data is coming into the text format and your data is looks like in this way. So if your data is in the text format and it is of having in this way, right? So you can use this particular read dot table command, and based on that particular function you can read the data from this particular file format. Okay, so this is the way how you can read the data from the file and in the tabular format. Up to this point, anyone have any question, any comment? Is it clear to everyone?
Please, it's very clear. But what if we want to get Excel data
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the?
yeah, I'll come to that point, Inusha. Yeah, so but first I wanted to be sure because there is just so many methods we saw here. Okay, so up to this point, so firstly I'm going to be assured to you from everyone whether it is clear to everyone or not. Okay, so if it is clear, so maybe just do a quick revision. Okay, so maybe the next part I'll cover in our next session. Okay, I'll tell you about how to read the data from Excel file format, CSV file format, or how you can take data from the different databases. Okay, so this part we will cover in our tomorrow session. Okay, tomorrow or maybe day after tomorrow session I will cover that part. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so this is all about today's session, and our next session will be on Saturday. Okay.